Hi everyone, and welcome to Studio Jake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. Whew, we've got a doozy for you today. I just watched the first two episodes of Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, which from now on I will simply refer to as Rings of Power. I'll tell you why at the end. But yeah, so it was a thing. I'm going to give my thoughts on it, but first I'm going to do a little bit of summary, and there will be spoilers in the summary. So I'm going to put a bar at the bottom that says spoilers, and so that way you can jump ahead to just my general thoughts on the episodes and what I think. Uh, in the meantime, if you're looking for some high fantasy, check out my novels, The Seven Royals. I've got two of the trilogy out. The first one is called All Good Things. The second one is called Breaking the Stars. The third one should be out soon. I'm working on it. I'm working to complete it. So get those first two so you're ready for it, so you can appreciate my own fantasy trilogy. So going into the episodes, and this is where the spoilers start. We're treated to an opening scene where Gladreal is building a boat from a napkin, one of those paper mache things. She puts it in the water. There are some other elven children. Oh, yeah, by the way, she's a little girl for some reason. And it's floating down the river. It turns into a swan. And then the little elven children start throwing rocks at it and make it sink. And she attacks one of the kids until her brother intervenes, and her brother, kind of gives her some words of wisdom or whatever. And I was kind of like, why are these elven children acting this way? Like, elves are supposed to be graceful and they kind of come out mature. They're not bullies. They don't have bullying in their society. They're supposed to be angelic. So I guess maybe these were elves that would eventually become orcs. I don't know. Then we're treating to a voiceover of Gladriel. She kind of sums up the fall of Morgoth, and brings up how Sauron rises to power. And for some reason, Sauron is the one who kills her brother. That's not what happened. Her brother is killed by a werewolf. Actually, I think multiple werewolves, trying to protect Baron. But anyway, in this, he's killed by Sauron. So she takes his knife, because he had like this very special knife, and she goes off. She's taking up this unit of elves up north. They discover like this hidden fortress, and she's kind of hoping it's Sauron's last fortress, or last stronghold. That's the word. And some random elf gets Boromir's line from the Fellowship of the Ring when he asks Gandalf, "What new devilry is this?" And some random elf says something similar. I think they take out the new, and he just says, "What devilry is this?" So a snow troll attacks them, and you know that famous fart jump scene that they released with their first look, where an elf bends down and she runs and like jumps on it and attacks the snow troll or whatever it is, and that it looked just as dumb as that first look image. It looked like they didn't even bother to add any special effects to make it flow naturally. Literally, I couldn't, but I could almost picture. I couldn't see them physically, but I almost pictured those strings that they use when they do stunts like that. So she takes on the snow troll. One of the elves dies. None of the other elves intervene for some reason. So then they defy her. They're like, "We're not going any further." So then it kind of jumps to the Heartfoots, and they're hiding from some hunters. And by the way, they're just kind of there, but honestly, of their grouping, I thought it was kind of weird because they're never. I know that they're trying to separate Harfoots from hobbits. They're not. Harfoots are a clan of hobbits, but they can't use hobbits because hobbits didn't come about until the beginning of the Third Age, and they were an isolationist. These are migradal for some reason. But anyway, so in the Southlands, there's this elf named Arondir. He's in love with this woman named Bronwyn, and I remember in an interview she was described as a single mother, and her child is super annoying. I hate him. And something weird is going on, but then the king of the elves called them back because he orders them to come back and declares that the war is over officially, but Arondir doesn't want to go with them. He wants to stay close to Bronwyn, but then they discover a farmer brings in a sick cow, and they discover some sort of pestilence. So they go east and discover a village that's sank in the ground. So Gladriel has like this long conversation with Elrond, and it's the famous one where she's like, "You have not seen what I've seen." And it's exactly like that. It's that Karen moment where she's condescending, she's rude, she's not like the graceful, beautiful, wise Gladriel. And they keep trying to say, "Oh, this is young Gladriel. She's over 1,000 years old. It's time to mature." The elves don't mature like humans, where it's like would be the centuries would be equated with how humans age into adulthood. That's not how it works. After they get a sort of education, they become who they are. Again, because they're angelic beings. But no, she's rude, condescending, but she finally agrees to go to the Undying Lands because it's considered an honor. However, that kind of goes to crap because all across the land, some strange signs start appearing. So the sinkhole, the king of the elves discovers a leaf that rots suddenly. A meteor flies in the sky, and Gladriel sees this just as she's about to go into the Undying Lands, and so she jumps off into the ocean because she's Mira from Aquaman, and so the Heartfoot children kind of follow the trail of the fire, and they discover a really tall man there. I'm guessing it's one of the wizards, which just boggles my mind. The wizards don't come not till the end of the Second Age, and I don't even think, I could even be wrong that it's even in the Third Age, but anyway, neither here nor there. So Elrond gets this, so we go into episode 2. Elrond gets a promotion, and he's sent to help this elf, I guess basically he's a blacksmith, an alchemist, I guess. They send him, he wants to build this tower with a great forge because he has a secret project. What could that be, I wonder? So, Elrond convinces him to go with him to talk to the dwarves. So then we see Gladriel, and she's like floating in the ocean, and she is doing nothing. She's literally just floating in the ocean. Like, okay, hi, glad we got that out of the way. So we go back to Elrond. Oh, there's like intercuts with the Heartfoots trying to like help the Meteor Man, but he doesn't seem to have any memories. There's like some cuts with that, some other dumb stuff they're doing, and so Elrond goes to the Dwarf Hall, and he challenges Durin. They won't let him in, even though apparently him and Durin were friends in the past. So he challenges Durin to a battle, and I have to admit I can't remember a lot about the relationship between Elrond and Durin. However, I do know, especially in the Second Age and into the Third Age, the dwarves and the elves kind of have like this feud. It's like the Hatfields and McCoys. Well, he goes into the Dwarf Hall, and I thought it was kind of weird because it's so freaking green. They're underground in the mountains, and there's moss and everything in between. It certainly doesn't look like the inside of a freaking mountain, but, you know, whatever. So Gladriel gets rescued by some humans. They ask her, you know, where she's from, and at first there's like some female camaraderie, because the woman saves her because the men just want to leave her out in the ocean. Honestly, the way she's acting in the show, that would have been a victory. But then they're attacked by this monster, and they realize she's an elf, so they think she's a bad omen and throw her back overboard. Such a rescued, and then, oh no, giant monster, it's the elf! Right back into the ocean. So, we go back to the Dwarf Hall. This game starts between Durin and Elrond, and it's like a mining game where they have to take turns hitting rocks with axe, and whoever can break the most wins, and Durin will agree to sit with Elrond if he can win. And I was surprised, but Elrond actually doesn't win. He loses, but he can somehow convinces Durin to let him, because Durin is kind of mad he hasn't heard from Elrond in 20 years, and Elrond's like, oh wow, it's only been 20 years, and Durin is kind of like, that's like a lifetime for dwarves, which I actually think dwarves live a long time, just not as long as elves, but certainly longer than humans. And So during all this happens, Gladriel is saved by a human named Halbrand. Now he's an original character for the show, and I have my suspicions about him, but I'm going to save that for later. And she immediately starts to condescend to him, but at least he gives it back a little bit because he's like, "Oh, you're not really a hero. You just want revenge. It's obvious." And she goes, "What have we elves ever done to you humans?" And he goes, I don't dislike you. My home was destroyed by orcs." And so then she immediately starts giving him orders. Fortunately, a storm comes in, so you don't have to listen to her prattling anymore. But anyway, so then we meet Durin's wife, and this is the actress who, is supposed to be, a dwarf queen, but she's beardless, even though it's established in the books and in the Lord of the Rings trilogy that they have beards. I could have gotten past that, but the actress being, totally arrogant and condescending toward us viewers, I don't care. So anyway, so she kind of convinced Durin to hear Elrond out. They had, because all the women are totally amazing and the men are just all selfish goons, basically. So our Heartfoot kids try to speak with the Meteor Man. He's kind of lost his memories. He keeps saying the same word. I think it's Manakru. I've never heard that term before, but he keeps saying it over and over again. I'm kind of convinced he's a wizard. I guess I can say that now that I'm talking in episode 2, but anyway. So, Brownwind tries to warn the villagers about the goblins. Arondir is following the cave that was formed in the sinkhole, and he discovers goblins. The Brown goes back and to get her son because she's convinced that they need to flee. Well, then a goblin attacks them, and she, of course, I will admit they didn't make it easy, but her and her son kind of outsmart the orc, and so she beheads it, convinces the villagers that they need to flee to the Elven Tower. So they do, and her son, again, is just a spoiled brat. I don't know what it is with these TV shows where all these children are just insufferable. They either cuss like sailors or they're spoiled brats. It's very, very annoying. So Gladrail and Halbrand, they're in the storm. She almost drowns, but he saves her, and I guess they have a moment. And the Heartfoot children, they talk to the Meteor Man again, and he forms a map of a certain star constellation with some fireflies, and it was weird because then the fireflies died. I don't get that. So Durin is convinced by Elrond to build this new forge for the elves, and he talks to his father, and his father agrees. He opens a box with something shiny in it, but of course we don't really get a good glimpse of it. Brown's son, you find out, well, you found this out early on, but he had an orcish dagger that was broken, but then his blood pours on it somehow. He was wounded in his fight with the orc, I guess, but that was the night before, but he's somehow still bleeding, and it repairs the orc dagger, and so he hides it as his mom says, "Hey, we have to go." And then Gladriel and Halbrand are found by a mysterious boat, and that's how episode 2 ends. So, spoilers in here. You might hear a couple of other things just in my overall thoughts. Okay, once again, the Heartfoots are just another tribe of hobbits. They are not pre-hobbits. They are not proto-hobbits. They are not cousins of the hobbits. They are not a separate race of the hobbits. They are hobbits. They do not appear until the Third Age. I think they may be the end of the Second Age. I don't think so. I think it's the Third Age. And also, I will say, though, their little setup was the best of the film. It looked more natural. It seemed to fit more. I will say that about it, but I honestly feel like they were a last-minute decision, and they realized, oh crap, none of the other characters we've created are likable, so let's throw in the Heartfoots. And really, my problem isn't with them. That's my problem with them, is they just don't fit in with the story. They are isolated community, even in the show where they say that they're migradal, which again they're not. They're isolationist community, but whatever, and everything. So. And here is my biggest beef with the show. It's just, they say that they went back to the source material over and over. First, all the actors and the actresses were trying to, this is our show now. We're going to take Middle Earth and make it for ourselves. Who cares about that stupid guy, Tolkien? That's literally what the vibe they were giving off. And anytime fans would express like, hey, hey, no, we like Tolkien. That's why we like the original Lord of the Rings trilogy so much. No, this is our time. Ha 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 ha. We're celebrities and we're British. We know better than you. Absolutely ridiculous and stupid. And normally, whenever I watch a movie or a TV show, I try to differentiate between the actors and how it's marketed. But they went pretty much the whole cast went full Brie Larson, and so I have no choice but to connect them to these creative decisions. We had the actress who was playing Gladriel basically attack Tolkien fans and call us all sorts of ists and phobes. It's ridiculous. And this is one of my biggest gripes about the show. These aren't elves. Elves are angelic beings. They're wise. Yes, they do make some mistakes, and they sometimes let their arrogance get in the way of things. But they are wise. They are smart. They're in some cases very clever. They're elegant and graceful. No, all of these elvish characters, from Elrond to Gladriel to the King of the Elves, they all have this attitude like they're at some British prep school. And, where Mummy and Daddy are paying my way through, Mummy and Daddy, and maybe I'll get into Oxford or insert Ivy League college name here. That's their attitude they give off. They don't have any of that grace. They're the Vulcans from Star Trek. Now, please note, I love the Vulcans from Star Trek because they're on Star Trek. I don't like these elves. These aren't the elves of Middle-earth. Even by the Second Age, the elves have kind of stepped into this advisory role on Middle-earth. And yes, it's true, there was some tension with the dwarves, there was some tension with humanity, with man, but it was never like to the extent, they kind of show the elves as almost this elitist oppressor of the rest of Middle-earth, which is absolutely preposterous. And that is not how it worked. Yeah, like I said, there were times when there was some tension, but it was always resolved. Cooler heads always prevailed because these were adults. All of these characters act like petulant children, like teenagers who read too many Tumblr blogs, or they read Eat, Pray, Love, and they think they know what life is like. But no. And I'm especially offended by how Gladriel is described, how she is moved. Now, a few people have called her a Mary Sue, and I actually will say I don't think that she is a Mary Sue, because there are some times when she faces a challenge that's difficult. She almost drowns in episode 2. But I will say this about her. In the books, she is not a warrior. She does go through a little bit of a rebellious phase where Tolkien kind of describes her as an Amazon-like figure, right? But she course corrects, and she becomes this wise presence. She becomes this calming presence, one that makes grown men tear up because she can sense their anguish and she wants to comfort them. Remember, when Boromir sees her, she speaks into his mind, and it makes him shudder for a minute. But then she tells him there's hope. There is hope for man. This is not that Gladriel. I don't know who this person is. It's certainly not the Gladriel that exhumed beauty and grace. This one was defiant, reckless. She was certainly not kind. And there's even this dumb scene. So like the famous scene where she's like, "You have not seen what I have seen." There's that scene when she says that, when Elrond tells her, it's time to put up your sword, her face freaking twitches. She's like, yeah, I don't know who's familiar with Cheers, but remember Cheers and the character of Diane? That was something her character would do when she was having kind of a panic attack. Her face would twitch, and they did that with Gladriel. It was the weirdest thing. She's like, I was like, what is this? This is not Gladriel. Who is this person? This is clearly a spy, an orc that Sauron made to look like Gladriel. She's condescending. She's rude. She's huffy. Where is Gladriel? I don't get this thing where now if they wanted to bring in the Amazon version of Gladriel that is mentioned in like one line in the entire Silmarillion, or maybe it was the appendices, I'll be honest, I can't remember which. If they wanted to bring that in, fine, whatevs. But still, give us Gladriel. Why does she have to act like any rude guy you'd meet at the pub? It was an embarrassment, and it showed a lack of talent. And these arrogant celebrities, the arrogant these arrogant guys, these J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, who are the showrunners, their hubris is destroying this show. What could have been something so great, and they ruined it. Now, I understand they had to take from the appendices, and they couldn't exactly take from the Silmarillion. I actually think I misquoted that one time. I thought they did get the rights to the Silmarillion. They didn't, so they had to take from the appendices. But what they could have done with the show is taken moments and made more like an anthology series. I think that would have been really cool. Because then, but no, they've got to divide it up. They've got to mash it up. They've got to turn it around. Listen, I would be okay with a truncated version of the Second Age, or even a series about the end of the Second Age. But they're not giving us that. They're giving us their own amalgam. It's clear that that neither one of them have read the books. It's clear that none of the actors had read the books. Because, you know, I know there's this whole thing where it's like, oh, I finally get to see Gladriel, who's like me. Like, what kind of a selfish person are you? You don't have to have every representation of every single group, insert here, for something to identify with you. What made Lord of the Rings special was that it was J.R.R. Tolkien, who wanted to build an English myth, not just a British myth, not just a European myth. He wanted to make one that was special to the English people, and that's what he did. And I think that that is something amazing. And me as an American, as a Cajun American, Cajun, Irish, Scots, I've got a bunch of stuff, but primarily Cajun, as a Irish Cajun, I don't have to see an Irish Cajun Aragorn for me to identify with the Lord of the Rings. I don't. I can identify with it. Same with all these other characters. I got the Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet. I've got Batman behind me. So there you go, 2 billionaires. I don't have to be a billionaire to connect with Batman and Iron Man. I don't have to be a dude. Oh, sorry. I don't have to be a dude to connect with Cara Dune. She is an awesome character. She's fierce. She's a fighter. She's kind of, she's not afraid to fight, but she's also kind of tired of the fight. I understand that. I can connect with that. I don't need a male version. I almost did it again. I don't need a male version of Cara Dune to connect with her. Her character was written good enough already. Maybe with the exception of Sasuke over here, I can connect with all these characters up here on my boards because there's some part of me that connects with the narrative, with the story. I don't need it changed by these arrogant Hollywood producers and New York producers and British producers. I don't need them to mess with the things I love. And, well, Jacob, if you don't like it, why don't you watch it? Because it's time for some gatekeeping. We nerds are despite what the media says about us now, we are a good, fun lot. We don't care what race you are. We don't care what sex you are. We don't care even really about your sexual preference. We welcomed all of these arrogant SJWs into our spaces, and they infected it with a virus. We didn't gatekeep enough, and it's time for some freaking gatekeeping, and I'm going to do it right here with Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. I don't care. Leave me a comment. I don't care. Lord of the Rings was something that was special to me. I saw Fellowship of the Ring, and I was blown away by how incredible it was. So I read The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy in between seeing the first and the second movie, and it was something that inspired me. It helped inspire me to write my own fantasy stories so I could create my own mythology. And so, you know what? I'm going to be here every week while this abomination is on, and I'm going to fight because it's for Tolkien. If you liked that video, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Give it a thumbs up. And I would be honored today if you would subscribe. No matter what platform you're watching on, please subscribe. Hit that follow button. Share it out all over the place. And check me out on some of my other socials. I've got links in the description below. Also, check out my website, StudioJakeMedia.com, and consider supporting this channel on StudioJakeMedia.locals.com. StudioJake.com. It really helps smaller creators out. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.